Ek gesels vanoggend met Ron Thomson en hy is die hoofuitvoerende beampte van die True Green Alliance NPC en ons praat bietjie oor olifantgetalle in die Kruger Nasionale Park. Ron, welcome to Grootplaas.
Thank you.
Ron, let's start with the first question. Is it true that the Kruger National Park is again culling elephants? What's the situation?
You know, I have no idea what they're doing, and they don't normally tell members of the public what they're doing or why.
What would you say? Why is it necessary to cull elephants anyway? What's the logic behind the madness almost?
Well, the reason that they have to cull elephants is to keep the elephant population in balance with its food supply and with the other important circumstances of its habitat. There are a lot of reasons or a lot of factors, natural factors in a game reserve that are impinged by the fact that people want to cull elephants in a game reserve.
And if we look at the topic, elephant crisis in the Kruger National Park, would you say there is a crisis when it comes to elephants?
Yes, there is a crisis. In fact, I think there's a very great crisis. It's not a crisis necessarily about elephants. It's a crisis about what the elephants are doing to the environment and to the other species diversity in the park, which is the important issue. And it's necessary to let the people understand that the impact that too many elephants in Kruger have on the game reserve could be phenomenal.
Are you willing to elaborate a little bit on this impact? For somebody who might not know what that impact is, how is the big numbers of elephants, how is it impacting their immediate environment?
Kruger National Park had a culling exercise some years ago, between 1967 and 1994. And at the end of that time, the elephants had removed all the trees of the woodland complex that comprised the Satara woodland survey, and it ended up where all those trees, every single one of the trees that were that were being examined, was removed from the game reserve.
Yeah.
Now, what has happened then was that by 1994, the Kruger scientists advised the public, as far as I remember the scene, was they told the public, but when the public asked them how many trees did the elephants kill during the culling era, because it was known they were all numbered. They were told by the scientists that 95% of the big trees had been killed by elephants during the era when the culling had taken place. Now, 10 years later, with no further culling taking place, the elephants had built up in number again, and they were then asked the same question: what has happened to the trees? Are the elephants still killing the trees? How many trees have been killed by the elephants? And the answer came back very similar to the first one, and that is by more than 95%.
Sure.
That means that more than 95% of the trees that were available at the beginning of the culling exercise have been killed by elephants. If you look at that in another way, you can say that 95% means that of 100% of the trees that were there, if 95% had come off, then there were only one or two trees left that had not been pushed over by elephants.
Yeah.
That makes a big difference, because everything in a game reserve is linked to something else. And one of the reasons why we have a game reserve like Kruger National Park is to maintain species diversity. That is exactly what a national park is for, is to maintain species diversity. Now, if 99% of the big top canopy trees, that is trees that have got a canopy spread of more than 15 meters,
yes.
What it means is that all the big trees that the eagles and the vultures and other birds, big birds like that, require to build nests on, have gone. So how can you maintain your eagles and vultures in Kruger National Park if there are no big trees left that are suitable for them to build their nests on? So that is where the problem comes in. Sand parks have been given a mandate by the South African Parliament to maintain species diversity in Kruger National Park. Now, if the staff in Kruger National Park are allowing the elephants to destroy all the big top canopy trees, that means that they're virtually putting a death sentence on all the vultures and the eagles in Kruger National Park. That means that they're not doing what they were asked to do or instructed to do by Parliament. That is to look after species diversity.
Yes.
So that is the roundabout way that we have got a problem with too many elephants in Kruger.
Can you tell me, what do elephants eat?
Well, their principal diet is cambium bark. And that is the bark that you get inside the bark of a big tree. And they peel off the outer bark, the corky bark, and then they get to a soft, it's like a leather bark inside the tree trunk, and that is what they prefer.
Yes.
Or that is what they like to eat. But what I can also say is that they also eat grass. Elephants are what we call preferential grazers, which means that they eat grass preferably to anything else.
Yes.
When it's available. If it's nice and fresh and green, they will eat grass in preference to the bark or the twigs of trees.
Yes. I'd like to take a few minutes. The term elephant management, can you just elaborate a little bit? What do you mean when you say elephant management?
Well, it's another word, I suppose, for conservation.
Yes.
What do we mean by elephant management? Management is the action that game rangers take to achieve a man-desired objective.
Yeah.
There is nothing natural about wildlife management. It is created by man. It is man-designed. Man is the principal beneficiary, and it is man's desired objective that is attained.
Do you think there is enough focus being put on the situation at the moment?
I don't think so. There hasn't been for a long time. If they are starting to cull elephants again now, then they're starting to put attention where it should be placed, and that is with too many elephants. So to answer your question, it may be that they have now started a reverse process, and that they are starting to tackle the problems where they exist.
And I presume, how long have you been in the industry or doing what you do? And if you sit where you are now, and let's say if we look into the future, if we could, let's say the next 10 years, what are some of the things that are worrying you if the situation stays like it is?
Well, I've been in this job for 25 or 30 years, and I've been involved in elephant management in all that time and a lot of other things, but not in South Africa. I was the game warden in charge of Wankie National Park in Zimbabwe.
Yes.
And I spent more than 25 years in the service of that department, which included a lot of elephant management.
And would you say, are you guys involved in heated debates when it comes to this topic? Because I'm quite sure that people feel different ways about, elephants and how they are being, how the numbers are being managed.
I'm not worried about it. if you want my opinion, not enough is being done to maintain the balance between elephants and their habitat, because so many other species are dependent upon a healthy elephant habitat, that if we allow the elephants to get too many, they will wipe out all these things like the big trees, the vultures and the eagles require. Without big trees, the Marshall eagles and the Battalier eagles and the tawny eagles and all these things in Kruger will disappear. They will disappear. If we look after the habitats properly, and that is what wildlife management is all about, is to look after the habitats more than anything else, then not only are we looking after the habitats for the elephants, for the and the eagles and the vultures, but everything else is dependent upon a healthy environment. So it all links in together. It's not just a question of saying, well, we've got to look after the elephants or the vultures, whatever. It's all mixed in together, and it's all one big salmagundi, where everything is dependent upon everything else. But the main thing is that the habitats should be maintained in a healthy and robust state. Yeah.
You mentioned earlier that it is man's objective and not that of the elephant. What do you mean by that?
Man knows what he wants out of his habitat management, and in the case of the elephants, he knows that he has to maintain the habitats in such a manner that they will continue to supply food and cover and everything else that the elephants need all the time. If your eagles are not breeding, if all the big trees have been knocked down, then Kruger National Park is not doing its job. Its job is to look after species diversity and maintain all the habitats of all the different animals collectively in a healthy state. And that, it would appear, is not happening.
If you could have a say in the first step of something that's got to be done, what would you say that first immediate step should be to change the situation?
It's very difficult to tell you this, because I don't have a full answer to it. What needs to happen really is that somebody, one of our bright scientists, somewhere along the line has to find a way to determine what is the carrying capacity, elephant carrying capacity of Kruger National Park.
Yes.
The habitats have got a limit to the numbers of elephants that they can carry. If there are too many elephants, they will damage the habitat. Therefore, you will start getting problems like we have with the vultures and the eagles at the moment.
Yes.
And the elephants.
Yeah.
But we have to find out a way how to determine how many elephants we can carry per unit area in Kruger National Park. And it's one of these puzzles that doesn't seem to have an answer, but I'm sure that our scientists should be able to come up with something in the long run. We have to find out what carrying capacity, just how we can come across or to discover what the carrying capacity is for elephants in Kruger National Park.
Yes.
Once we have got that figure, we must then religiously keep our elephants below that number.
Yes.
The carrying capacity is the maximum number of animals, in this case elephants, that the game reserve can carry, that the habitats can carry, without the elephants damaging the habitat in any way at all. So you can say I can put in 1,000 elephants or 100 elephants, whatever it may be, knowing full well that number of elephants will not damage the habitat.
Yes.
If they do damage the habitat, it's too many. How do we come to discover what that number is? It's not an easy solution, but it is necessary. It's vitally important that we get a better hold over what the carrying capacity is of elephants in Kruger National Park.
Thank you, Ron. Yeah, that's absolutely true. Thanks for your time this morning. I hope you have a wonderful day.